Hello everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day. Today we're going to be going over lesson 3, which is about the bass, clef, and staff. Just as a reminder, feel free to stop the video if you didn't understand something, go back and listen again. And as always, if you really have questions after that, feel free to approach me, email me, message me in Schoology, something like that, and we'll get it figured out. I would suggest taking these notes with me, or at least doing the drawing portion, so you may want to get out a blank piece of paper and a pen or something. You can pause the video if you need to, go grab that, and then start with me. So today, we are talking about the bass clef, and the staff. Now, just as a reminder, we've talked about the staff for the first 3 lessons, this being the third. The staff is how we communicate music. Now, just as a reminder, music is sound. Music is not the stuff that's written on the paper. So all we do is we use the staff to represent the sounds that we want to create. Or if someone who's writing music, they use the staff to communicate to the performers the sounds that they want them to create. The stuff we're doing here is not really the music, the sounds that you hear. It's just the things that help us to get to that point. So the first, or lesson number 2, is about the treble clef, which represents the notes that are higher, the higher sounding ones. So you can think of like your car radio. If you turn up the treble in the car, usually you hear the higher parts of the sound come out. Today we're talking about the bass part, which are the lower sounds. If you turn up the bass in your car, then you start hearing the boomy sounds, the bass guitar, the bass drum, those kind of things. So bass clef is talking about the lower sounds. Now we need to start first by drawing a staff. So if you're taking notes, draw a staff with me. Okay. Remember, 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 spaces in between the lines, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 lines, 4 spaces. Now, the bass clef, remember talking about lower notes, it's a little simpler to draw, but it does give us a hint about certain notes. Remember the treble clef, the G clef, bass clef, we start here in space number 3. You can make a dot if you want to. Space number 3. We loop up to space number 4, and then diagonally down to space number 1. Kind of looks like a candy cane. Now the most important thing when drawing the bass clef is this next step, the 2 dots. So we add 1 dot in space number 4, and we add 1 dot in space number 3. This is what our bass clef looks like. Alright, curvy line, 2 dots. Now just like the treble clef gave us the hint about a certain note, the bass clef also gives us a hint about a certain note too. There's a line that happens between each of the 2 dots. This line is always going to be called F. Alright, this line is F whenever we're using a bass clef. Now don't be confused, refer back to that video if you need it, but when we're talking treble clef, remember line number 4 is not an F, it's something else. I'm not going to mention it here because I don't want to confuse you, but when we have a bass clef at the beginning of the staff, line number 4 is always an F. Okay? Now, that being said, the bass clef also has another name. We call this clef the F clef. Treble clef was the G clef, bass clef is the F clef. Now, draw another staff with me, make this one a bit longer. Lines don't have to be perfect. Okay, and then bottom line. There we go. Let's do one more time. Draw a bass clef, starting in space 3, going back down to space 1. 2 dots. There we go. Now, the lines and spaces each have different names than they would if they were on treble clef. So let's go through those. Line number 1, when we're talking about bass clef, is G. Line 2, B, as in boy. D, for line number 3. F, now we know that one, right, from up here. They're the same. And then our top line is the note A. Now remember, we don't usually write the letter names on the lines and spaces. We will for a little while because that's how we're going to learn them. But remember, we usually represent them by using a note. So I'll do a quick one over here. You can do it with me if you want, but you don't have to. But draw this. So for example, if I'm using bass clef and I put a whole note on line number 3, that means that I'm talking about this note right here, D. Right? So if I labeled it bass clef, third line would be the note D. So that's what we use. We use these notes to represent the pitch, which have this letter name. Okay? G, B, D, F, A. Those are the lines. Good, boys, do, fine, always. Or any other one you want to come up with. And then for the spaces, A, C, E, G. Okay? Those are the lines and spaces. And then remember, I think the best way to learn it is this way, so draw another staff with me. Lines don't have to be perfect. That's perfectly fine. Alright, 5 lines, 4 spaces. Draw your bass clef, 2 dots. I think it's smarter to go through it this way. We know that between the 2 dots is the note F. Alright, so we'll put that there. Hopefully I have enough space for what I just did. Using the same pitches, right? We talked about in the last lesson that music uses these 7 pitches, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Using those 7, we can label all the notes on this staff. So if we move up on the staff, remember we say our alphabet forward. So F, moving to the next space, would go to a G. So that means that here we have the note G. Now G is the end, right? We can't go any further. So G always loops back to the note A. So F, G, and then line number 5, the top line here, is the note A. Okay, I'm going to have to squeeze a little bit, so if you need to adjust or erase, you can, but that's all right. If we go down on the staff, down towards the bottom lines, we say our alphabet backwards. So starting on F, if we go down 1, that means the next thing would be an E. Right? Down again, E goes to D, then C, B, A, G. Alright, and that's the same thing we have here. I just did it all as one straight line. And look, they're alphabetical, so if we start here on this one, it's easiest to see. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Okay? So, once again, feel free to make up any kind of anagram you want, right? I think that's the right term. G, B, D, F, A, good boys do fine always. A, C, E, G, all cows eat grass. And that's just an easy way to remember them. And then, as always, these are the letter names, but we don't normally see this in music. We usually use these notes. Alright, so you'll probably see this and you'll be asked to write the note name. So, like, this note is on line number 3. So we find the note that's on line 3. Here would be a D. So we write a D. Alright. Next up are the exercises for today. And you need to stop your video, complete them by yourselves, and then come back in and we'll go through them together. So pause your video real quick. And now we're back to it. Question 1 says the bass clef is written in 4 motions. Trace along the dotted line as indicated and draw 4 more. So 4 motions, it's kind of fast, but we start with the dot, right? And they started on this line, but I like to start with space. So either way, tracing this, right? Then we have the dots here for this one, and then so forth. Trace the whole thing. You can color it in if you want. Now if we do 4 by ourselves, I start here, dot, dot, here, dot, 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 dot. There you go. Okay, not perfect, but perfect for us for right now. Question 2, write the letter names of the following notes. Now here, you need to refer back to what we did earlier, right? So if you need to look at the notes that you took, or go back in the video, you can. We have a note that's written on line number 2, so we have to see which note name goes with line number 2. And you can go back, I'll just show you real quick. So here's the whole thing. Here's line number 1, space number 1, line number 2. So that note is a B, so they wrote a B here. Okay, that's what we're going to do. This one should be G, then E, A, D, C, G, A, F, and B. Okay? So that's what you should have got for number 2. Then question 3, write the notes on the staff indicated by the letters. So we're using the letters on the bottom to write the notes. If the notes can be written in two places, write one above the other. So we'll do two for some of them, but not all of them necessarily. First one is done for you. G is on the bottom line and the top space. B is in the second line and also above the top line. Okay. C is here. And I'm not going to tell you the name of that yet. We'll get to it soon. That's the other one. F here and here. E, let's just do one of these for now. Okay. A, bottom space and top line. D, we'll do one of these two for now, just third line. And then G, which they did for you already, so easy enough. Okay, those are the answers. If you have any questions, by all means refer to earlier in the video. Hopefully I went over it. Or shoot me a message in Schoology or by email and we'll get it taken care of. Have a great day.